welcome back to Jackson Ultima's Hot Seat Highlights with One Team Movement. My name is Lisa Carriere. I'm the founder of One Team Movement, a nonprofit organization dedicated to growing and supporting synchronized skating worldwide. I am honored to be able to bring some amazing stories to you from the synchro world, and today we are going to get to know some awesome families in the sport. A lot of people think that skating is an elite sport that you have to start when you're young and pretty much devote your life to it. But we in the skating world know that isn't necessarily true. There are plenty of opportunities for everyone in skating, whether your dream is to become an Olympian or just skate for fun. So today, we're excited to bring you stories from some families in synchro. We'll hear from 3 different families in the sport with totally different stories, from daughters following their mother's footsteps, to grandmothers taking up the sport and being inspired by their kids, and even a synchro dad who had never done much skating until he was recruited to an all-male synchro team. First up, I'm joined by Gina Hart-Lewis in Montreal, Quebec. Gina, welcome. I'd love to know, what was your personal journey in synchro and where did it all start for you?
Well, I guess I started synchro. It was part of our skate camp program, actually, where I came from. And so we learned how to skate, we'd actually learned how to skate attached to friends. So it all started there. And I was only 8 years old, and I skated with most of these girls until I was 16. So that first touch of a hand that helped me actually learn how to skate, they actually became my best friends in life. And 3 of my best friends today are synchro skaters.
Did you skate nonstop or did you take a break at some point?
After skating for many, many years, finished at 19, went on to take a break and have my university years and whatnot. But then 17 years later, put some skates back on and got into an adult synchro team. And it became a passion. For 7 years, I was co-captain, captain, but really most of all, just having fun.
And what were your kids doing at that point?
My kids at that point were in the stands, sitting on their dad's lap, watching me doing this. Soon after, they started skating. So they learned how to skate, and within the first year, what I did is that I wanted them to do synchro, so I brought them to the first synchro club that I could think of, and they did the tryouts, and that was a disaster. They unfortunately, they cried throughout, but then I thought, hey, how about I just start a little very casual synchro team? And I hired a young coach who went to regionals that year, and they won regionals as a debutante team. So that was the first time that I saw my daughters cry of joy. That medal started the whole thing. And here I was, second generation, moving on with my kids. And then they moved on to, even going through competitive synchro skating and stuff.
Wow, Gina, it's so evident how passionate you are about synchro. And I think that's one thing that we often see in synchro skaters is that when they retire or move on from the sport, they still have such a love for it and a passion for it. And they often find ways to be involved one way or another. So in your case, building a team for your kids and allowing them the opportunity to fall in love with it and benefit from it the same way you did. So amazing job. Speaking of your daughters in synchro, we are also joined by Alessia today. So Alessia is Gina's daughter. Alessia, I know you also did some ice dance on top of synchro, which must have kept you pretty busy. But I'd love to know, after you got started in synchro, after you got over the tears and you won your first beginner debutante competition, what was your journey like in synchro?
I went on to Les Suprêmes because I started at Nova. I went to Les Suprêmes in order for me to be able to go junior, senior one day. That was really it was my dream. And then my one novice year, I was recruited to do dance. So I actually did dance at the same time as I did my third novice year, actually. And then I did dance with my first junior year, where that was the year that we won Worlds. And I then decided to quit skating. So I was 16 back then. All my friends were quitting and we had just won Worlds. So for me, I was like, okay, well, I guess that's it for me. And 2 years later, I was in school and our teachers were asking us questions. And one of the questions was, what is your passion? And I was like, whoa, I guess I don't have one anymore, But in the back of my head, it was still skating. And that's when I told my parents, I think I'd like to get back on the ice, and like luckily I had 1 year left in junior, so I was lucky enough to be part of the junior team. The year after I went on to try out for the senior team, and I was lucky enough to be accepted on that amazing team, and here I am today.
Wow. First of all, congratulations on winning a junior world championship with your synchro team. That is such a huge accomplishment. But I'd love to know, what was it that really brought you back to synchro? I mean, you left and you thought that you were finished, which I think happens to a lot of skaters around that age. So did you feel like after a bit of a break, you really weren't finished in the sport, or what were your feelings going back?
Well, I think that the fact that I was doing both at the same time was kind of overwhelming for me. It was a lot, and I didn't really like get to appreciate it as much as I wanted to. And I guess I took it for granted. And once I did quit, at first it was nice to have like a break, but when I came back, I was just so happy to be there, and I was really grateful. So I think what brought me back was really just the passion that I have for the sport. And it's not like skating for me, it's really like it's synchro.
That's really interesting, but something we often hear. Every synchro skater loves skating, but there's something magical about being on a team that takes the love for skating to like the next level. So interesting that it was synchro specifically that you really, really found your passion and love for. Apart from your mom, is anyone else in your family a synchro skater?
So my sister is actually on my team. We've been like on and off on the same team, so we've sort of followed each other.
What was it like skating on the same team as your sister? First of all, older or younger sister?
She is my younger sister, but she actually didn't quit skating at all. So she was on the senior team and I was on the junior team the first year that I came back. So in a way, like it was kind of weird for me because she was kind of like my big sister at skating. So it was a very different dynamic for us because I had always been like the older sister, but she was actually, she helped me a lot my first year. And, we always help each other regardless, but she was actually a huge inspiration for me. She really helped me, and seeing her grow that much while I was gone really like inspired me, and she was helping me a lot. Like from very young, we used to skate next to each other and we used to like hurt each other, and my coaches had to separate us a lot. Like if you ask my novice and juvenile coaches, like we've had problems, like she's dropped me purposely and stuff like that, but all resolved now.
I was gonna ask if there was ever any anger between the siblings. Sounds like that was a common thing when you were younger, but lucky when you grew up, you had a good role model in your sister. And then Alessia, I know in addition to having a biological sister in synchro and a mom in synchro, you also picked up a few, we'll call them pseudo sisters along the way, with your family billeting skaters from abroad and even from out of town. You guys are like a textbook example of a synchro family. How did you end up housing synchro skaters from outside of your home on top of your own daughters?
Well, it started actually when the kids were younger, and during the summer they would have people from everywhere in Canada who would come and stay, and some of them are quite young and obviously couldn't stay on their own. So the skating club was always looking for like people to take young people in for, sometimes it'd be just a week or 2 weeks, and we would sort of raise our hands and thought it was cool, like, like a summer sleepover with figure skaters. Hey, that was pretty cool. So we'd only live like a minutes away from the ice rink. So the girls would leave, like, we'd have a new guest over for the week or whatever, and they'd leave with their Zuka bags and, walk down the street to the arena. And so we met like several skaters that we've kept in touch with, over the years. And I think from there on, when we saw that girls were coming from abroad, girls and boys, were coming from abroad, wanting to come to Montreal, but under 18 and having a hard time, like, well, how do I do this? Our team manager would send out an email saying, hey, like, we need help, like we need to lodging for these people. So would somebody take them for the summer, and then we'll see what we could arrange for them. But of course, once you have these people in your home, there's just no way, they're not going anywhere, right? It's like the minute they step in and they're into your world, they're just part of the family. So even if it's not from someone abroad, we've had someone from Toronto, someone from Quebec, and it's just, what's great is that it becomes one big happy family.
I love that. When you ask synchro skaters what they love most about synchro, probably one of the most common answers that we get is their team is their family. And you know, your family obviously took that a step further by welcoming skaters into your home and into your family. And you know, as myself, as a coach who's worked abroad and often stayed with families, I can tell you how much we appreciate it, and we never forget the families that we're fortunate enough to meet and the great hospitality that they provide. And I'm sure all of the skaters that you've lived with are a true extension of your family now. So that is really special. Speaking of some of the skaters that have lived with you, we're actually lucky enough to have one of your live-in skaters jumping in. Lisanne, you are from Quebec City, which is, for people that don't know, about 2.5 hours from Montreal. And that's where you were training with Les Suprêmes. So did you grow up in synchro, or how did you come to move from Quebec City to Montreal?
I was on the ice at a really young age, and then I did juvenile, I did intermediate, novice first, and then intermediate, open, and then it wasn't enough for me. And there's no junior, there's no senior in Quebec, so I had, if I wanted to grow up and be a better skater, I had to do the move. So I went to Les Suprêmes.
And what was it like living with another family? Was it hard to adapt and adjust?
It was amazing because I have 2 sisters that do skating, and I'm really close to my parents. So I was really looking for something like that. And that's why I found in Gina's home. I had 2 sisters. I have parents really close to me, and they were always there to help. So it was like being at home, but with different people, but it was really the same. And then the 2 dogs, I have 2 cats, and it was really like at home.
Wow. So it sounds like the dynamic was pretty similar at Gina's house to what it would have been at your own. Crazy that you even had the same number of pets. We'll go back to Gina again. What are some of the biggest changes that you've seen in the sport since the time you did synchro, or precision as it was called back then, to what you see in the sport now?
Well, I started at Les Suprêmes later on in my synchro career. I came to Les Suprêmes at the junior senior level. And the only objective, I mean, we were 32 skaters on the team. 28 of us would skate at one time, but 32 on the team. So it's like having 2 synchro teams on the ice at once. And, you know, at the time, there was only one coach there, you know, and coaching these 32 girls with different skating skills, different backgrounds, coming from different areas of the city, so English and French, also a lot of Italian, and so all these different cultures coming together. And the only objective was to do as many crosscuts as possible to gain speed. Okay, so every, you know, bump and turn, and there had to be a crosscut in between. You know, hold your back straight and just go for the crosscuts. Now, when I came back 17 years later, I was in awe. I could not believe. Now, by then, there were all these countries participating in this sport, but the skills, I mean, I look at the girls today, figure skate teams, and I think, I don't even know how to do that with my body. It's a whole different sport now. And so, I mean, it's evolved and it's so technical. It's really a mental and physical challenge.
All right. Well, thank you, Gina, Alessia, and Lisanne. It has been such a pleasure chatting with the 3 of you and hearing your journey in synchro as a family. Okay, so we are off to Finland next to meet a Finnish skating dad and his daughter. So for those of you who think that you can't do synchro unless you know how to skate first, or that synchro is a girl sport, or maybe you think that as a synchro dad, the only thing you can do to support your child in the sport is to cheer them on in the stands. Well, I think this story may inspire you to think a little bit bigger about what synchro is all about and who it's for. So over to Tero and daughter Tuulia. Welcome, and where are you joining us from tonight?
Helsinki, Finland, and I skate in Iceman United, the second only men's team in synchro.
I'm Tuulia from Helsinki, and I skate in Moonshadows.
Okay, so you said there's 2 men's teams. What is the other men's team?
That's the River Bulls. They are in Seinäjoki.
Oh, okay.
There's a couple of, Pori is trying to get a full men's team together. I think there are 9 or 10 skaters, but the pandemic really mixed it up. So
Yes, that it does. That's so cool.
I will start with some questions for you, Tero. Did you grow up in skating or in sports? How did you get involved in synchro?
I would say no, not really that athletic. Used to do like normal school athletics, and well, I got into synchro through Tuulia. So we took her to skating school. I've always been interested in photography, and I got to be the team photographer, so following them everywhere, basically, and it's real fun. I mean, most teams in Finland have like somebody, or most clubs, and Helsingin Luistelijat has, I mean, traditionally several photographers. You ask a few questions and you find out that their daughter is in Marigold Ice Unity, and they've been by the rink with the camera for 15 years. But it's really nice. I mean, you get all the tips from these guys.
So you mentioned skating at the same club as Marigold Ice Unity, which for those who may not know, they're one of the top teams in the world. Were you impacted at all by having them around and having them skate out of the same club as you?
Oh, it means it means a lot. So basically, I'm just having these elite level athletes around is incredible. And I specifically remember the Christmas party, or the Christmas ice that the club traditionally has. And you have like everybody from the tiny skaters in skating school to like first time synchro triers. And then you have this like basically world champion level team. That was the point. Just the sound of these 16 blades or 16 pairs of blades, the sound you get, that was just, yeah.
Powerful.
Yes.
Okay, so how did you end up skating for an all-male synchro team?
That was quite funny. The Iceman United started skating 2015, and like after that, anybody in an event, like when you were seen twice or more, they basically came over and went like, "Hey, want to try what this is?" I was curious to see what it was.
And did your appreciation for the sport change at all once you had the opportunity to try it yourself?
Certainly. I mean, I think everybody who goes and tries, basically, like after seeing what the teams can do, you go once and you figure out like this is hard. One of our latest recruits, basically, like after half an hour on the ice, was going like, "This is insanely hard. I'll never tell my daughter again to do something."
That really is the beauty of skating, right? Making difficult things look easy and putting the hours and hours of practice in to make it look so simple and effortless. So I'm curious to know, who are the other men on your synchro team?
We have one skater who did ice dance when younger, and now is kind of back after, 15 years of ice. Mm-hmm. And our captain, he's been doing, he started as an adult, but he's been doing something like 20 years. But most have kids who skate. Some don't, which is great too.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of co-ed adult teams around the world, but not too many male-only teams. So that's a really cool feature that you have over in Finland. Do you find as a male skater it's more approachable to start the sport with an all-male team? Do you wish that it was co-ed? What's the dynamic like?
Oh, I think it would be great to have both. So we're constantly struggling with getting a full-size team together, but it would be fun to try. Just I'd be curious to see what our coaches could do with a 50-50 split, because that you could do some interesting programs with that.
What's the energy like on your team? Is it more laid back and just all about having fun, or is it pretty competitive?
I think a bit of everything. It's fun. It's just fun. I think you could compare us to like 10-year-olds when we get on the ice. It's kind of all over the place, except the coaches are great. They keep us in line. Yeah. But it's about having fun.
So my mom is not a synchro skater, and when I was competing, we would talk about synchro all the time. It would drive my brother and my dad nuts. Do you and your daughter talk about synchro a lot at home?
We do talk a lot about synchro at home. So my wife sometimes comments that you could talk a bit less. I mean, especially during the competition season.
Has your wife ever been involved in synchro?
It was quite funny. I think the year before last, everyone in the family was somehow skating. I mean, our younger daughter was in skating school, and my wife also. So there's adult skating schools, and she's actually promised that we'll go and test ice dancing once things are back to normal.
That's so sweet. And do you think she'll ever join a synchro team?
No, I don't think so. It's a question of time management.
Yeah.
No, she just shouted, "Never say never," from downstairs.
Hey, you guys could start the co-ed team.
Yeah.
What is a message that you'd like to send to other men out there that have maybe never thought of trying synchro, or maybe have thought about it but never decided to take the plunge?
It's really, really hard, but it's really worth it. So it's just incredibly fun to try. And yeah, you learn new stuff all the time, and you get to meet a lot of wonderful people. So it's definitely worth going to a rink.
And had you ever taken any skating lessons before you started doing synchro?
I didn't actually. It was the first time I ever put on like figure skates. In Finland, you basically learn skating. For boys, it's hockey always at school. But the thing is, it's actually, in some ways, it's easier on figure skates. Kind of, at least going backwards, it's much simpler. So there's a lot more balance in it overall. Obviously, you need to be slightly afraid of the spikes, but the fun part with us is we basically skip skating school and just join the team.
And you got to learn as a team, which is even more fun.
Yeah, and it's actually nice because then we basically aren't afraid of skating as a team one bit. Because we've had guys who have skated as singles try for a bit, and their first reaction is like, "Oh, this is scary," because you basically have all the time somebody like half a meter from you.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Tero and Tulia. Hopefully we get to see each other again at a rink soon, but until then, keep doing what you're doing, because it's amazing to see a father-daughter synchro combo, and really is something that deserves to be celebrated. So thank you so much for sharing your story with the world. Next up, we are off to the Niagara region in Ontario, Canada, to meet our final family feature today. Ladies, why don't you introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Carly, and I am from Ontario, Canada, and I skate in Niagara for Matrix.
Hi, I'm Olivia. I also skate for Matrix, but I skate for their elementary team.
Hi, I'm Debbie, and I'm from the Niagara area, and I used to skate years ago, but now I'm a big fan and a supporter of synchro skating.
So lovely to meet you all. Are you all synchro skaters?
Yes.
Yeah, one time.
I can't wait to hear your stories. That is amazing.
So Carly, we'll start with you. How did you get started in synchro?
It would have been my mom that got me actually involved in synchro. It was precision skating at the time. Our club offered it, and someone had spotted me in singles and told my mom I'd be a really good fit for synchro. So I joined my first juvenile team at age 9. And I continued there upwards through our club's novice program, and then went on to skate junior as well, and then came back to it as an adult.
And what was it like growing up in synchro? I mean, what did it teach you?
It was honestly my favorite part of figure skating. I loved synchro so much. In addition, now looking back as an adult, like the skills it gave me with, teamwork, being able to work with others, problem solving skills, hard work, dedication, all that good stuff. But like the greatest moments of my life are from synchro, and not even necessarily competing, but like trips with your friends on the buses, hotel rooms. It's those kind of memories that are irreplaceable. And as adults, we still talk about those same stories now when we're skating on a team together.
What do you think is the best thing about the sport?
It has to be the sisterhood or brotherhood or whoever you're skating with synchro. Like that's what it is for me. Like it's not only growing up as a skater, right? The ice is like your therapy. And then when you get to do that combined with a bunch of friends that also have that same passion, that's when it becomes like the best thing ever. Like we skate with a bunch of girls on our team that unfortunately weren't able to skate synchro from Thorold, where I skated. And they have come out for the first time as adults, and they're like, why did I never get to do this in my life? Like, this is the best thing ever. It incorporates all the best stuff of skating. And also synchro, I think, is a great avenue for skaters who may not be the strongest freestyle skaters. So, you know, not everybody is destined to be a jumper, and it's a great avenue to introduce to other skaters. And then they don't have their worth being judged on how they skate freestyle. Perhaps you're really good at edges. And as a synchro skater, that really helps you find your niche. So I think that kind of helps when it comes to synchro, because not everyone is a jumper. I was that kind of skater. I loved dance and edges and skills and figures. So for me, synchro was, you know, my round peg, round hole. That's where I fit. So I think, you know, when you mix that all together and everyone's feeling that way, then you're hooked for life.
And how did Olivia get involved in synchro?
Well, my mom and I went to check out a adult competition that was in Oakville. And my daughter, Olivia, would have been about 4, I believe, at the time. And she was watching the adult programs, Adult One, and there was a Roomba program, and she was so into it. And then that's when she told us that she wanted to skate like that. I remember her pointing, saying, I want to be like the ladies. So we started her in can skate, and then she was bitten by the bug after that.
That is adorable, and actually quite similar to my own story. I remember being in can skate and watching an older team skate right after my session. I had my nose pressed up against the glass and just in complete awe, and I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So at that time, were you skating as well, Carly?
I wasn't actually. I hadn't skated in a little while. Unfortunately, we didn't have any synchro in the area when she was thinking about joining. There was none in Niagara at that time. It just so happened that a bunch of people that I skated with my age, our daughters were coming of age to skate. So it just so happened a beginner team did form that year in 2016. And they had an adult team the year prior. So, you know, her going back kind of inspired me to dust off my boots and get back on the ice. So after 20 years, I rejoined an adult program.
Oh my goodness, that is adorable. So you inspired her, she inspired you. Could you guys be any cuter? Oh my goodness. Olivia, did your mom help you when you first got started in synchro?
Oh yeah, she was telling me all the tips and tricks so I can be better.
And do you remember some of the first tips she gave you?
I have to have straight arms, or if I don't, I'm gonna look like a floppy fish.
Carly, who else in your family is involved in synchro?
My sister also, she skates with us on Matrix Adult as well, and she skated with me growing up as well, all along. And my mom.
So mom, Debbie is mom. How did you get implicated in this whole synchro world?
You know, I started by watching the kids skate, and I always just skated, never had any lessons or anything. And there was an adult team just for fun. So I thought, well, why not? And that started it. You learned a lot. Like, we were just a beginning team. We had people who could skate very well and who had taken lessons. And then we had the board huggers too. So it was a lot of fun and a lot of learning. I ended up managing for quite a few years the team. So my synchro went to the side as because I was with them.
Did you miss it when you stopped skating?
I did. I really did. When I was out there on it, it was a lot of fun, you know, a lot of fun skating, and you make a lot of friends and you have a lot of laughs, especially when you're a bunch of beginners like we are. We can laugh at ourselves, and it's really nice at the end to see what you accomplished. You know, you can go from skating forward to backwards and you think, oh, I can cross cut and mohawk now, you know.
You don't even realize how much you're learning until you see videos of the start, right?
Yeah, and it makes you appreciate what your daughters are doing out there on the ice then too, because you know it's hard. It looks easy when they're doing it, but it is hard.
So Carly, do you enjoy performing when you know that your daughter's there watching and cheering you on?
I do. There's a couple snapshots that were snapped last year at Capers where you can see her in the glass looking at me and just her face watching me perform. Like, it was like, yes, I literally saw that photo. I was like crying like a baby because it was a really sweet moment to see. Like, she was worried about watching me skate. So I could definitely see that she was nervous on my behalf as well. So yeah. I love having her watch me perform.
So we've got 3 generations of synchro here. What are some of the biggest changes that you've seen in the sport?
Formations. I definitely miss the way that, I mean, we skated, there was 30 on the ice, right? And then 28 and 24, and it kept shrinking. But Well, I do miss a little bit of the intricate formations. You know, certain teams would have their tricks that way. I definitely see, obviously, the change. It's a lot more flowy now. Like there was a time when it was very militant, you know, like blocking up and that sort of thing. And I guess I was lucky I got to skate in the militant phase when we were phasing into that flowy aspect where the teams were going down, and each style has its challenges. I think definitely for me, the top three changes would be formation, the numbers on the ice, and then of course, the more freestyle aspects of things now, right? You're seeing some jumps and the lifts and that sort of thing.
And Debbie, how about you? Would you agree, or would you suggest 3 other things?
More of the free skating and less holding.
Oh, right. No hold.
You know, the no holds.
Through all of the things that change in the sport, competition rituals tend to stay the same. So I'm curious to know, does your family have any traditions or competition rituals at all?
Gotta be like listen to the music like 20 times at least and picture yourself doing it on the ice.
The whole drive up, we're playing the music and visualizing. And my sister and I have something that we do because my coach did it for us. And it's still continued on our current adult team. She used to give us a little bit of toothpaste on her finger to rub on our teeth so that when we were breathing, our lips didn't get stuck to our teeth. So it's like a tradition. My sister and I will still grab the toothpaste. The whole team will do it before we step on the ice.
Have you ever accidentally grabbed like a blue or green tube of toothpaste instead of white?
No.
I know some of my coaches told us to put Vaseline on our teeth, but I've never heard of toothpaste before, so that's a new one. Thank you for sharing. Do you have a lot of friends that you grew up skating with that are still skating now as adults?
Yes, actually. Almost everyone that I had skated on our original team, with the exception of maybe a handful of us, we've all come back to the sport. We all skated for the Thorold Skating Club growing up, and like our club is 70 years old this year. So we have such a thick history. It's all Thorold skaters on the adult 3 team for sure. There's like 1 or 2 that didn't skate in Thorold. But yeah, wow. So we're all back together. We all talk about the old stories. It's hilarious because like in our minds, like we're skating like we did when we were like 16, right? And then like you catch a glimpse of yourself in the glass going by and you're like, that spiral is just not where my head thought it was. So it's a good time to joke around with each other like that.
Wow. And those adults that have kids, are their kids skating synchro as well?
Yes, actually. Yes, almost all of them. I'm trying to think who hasn't. So it's one of those things too as well. It's like as a busy mom, right? Because I have a son who plays hockey. Having those friends that I skated with, now their kids are skating with me, it's that extra security that if I need to leave her with my fellow friend that I grew up with, it's not only her teammate, her friend, but it's someone else that I can trust, right? Because it's like a big family. So we often bounce our kids off one another that way when we have to be in multiple places at multiple times. But I love that. I love that they're friends. And when they grow up, they're going to talk about all the same stories that we were talking about with their kids.
Olivia, if you had to pick, what is one thing that you love about having a mom in synchro?
I've got to say, I just enjoy watching everybody skate. So like, I watch my mom's old tapes and just seeing all these cool pass-throughs and things that we can't do now. And I just want to be there and just do it because it looks so much fun.
And what is your dream in synchro?
I think my dream is probably being up in like the high areas and getting it to be in the Olympics. I just see all these teams and they're doing so good. It's like there's so many things that could just be shown to the whole world that I wish everybody else could see because maybe it could inspire them like it inspired me.
Ugh, you are just adorable, you know that? And you're absolutely right. I mean, there's a lot of kids that never really find a home in skating or even in sports in general because they don't know that synchro exists and it's an option for people who want a team sport or they want something that's artistic but also athletic and ties in skating or maybe people that love skating but don't really want to jump or spin or don't love skating on their own. So hopefully together we can keep growing synchro and sharing the love with more people so that more people can benefit from it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, most sports for kids are teams, and not having a team in the area for so long. It wasn't when I was young, my mom joined me in can skate and I seen them perform at our ice show. well, what do I want to do? Mom, I want to do precision. I want to do synchro, right? There was none of that for years. And now that they've come back and been able to showcase in the area at, hockey games and exhibition skates, now we're getting more interest because people are seeing that there's another avenue to skating. Kids want to be a part of a team. And, it's what makes them feel good. It's a security blanket for some kids who are maybe anxious to perform singly. And I think that more awareness needs to be brought about it because it's a fantastic sport. It definitely provides an avenue for some skaters that might not have that freestyle road for them.
Well, ladies, a huge thank you for sharing your family story with us. It's so amazing to see a grandmother who got started in synchro, really proving that you can start synchro at any age and at any skill level, even if you're just beginning as a skater. Amazing to see such a bright young lady. Olivia, that's you. You're incredible. And it's great to see that you fall in love with the sport, and I can't wait to see where you go. And Carly, super cool that after so many years of taking a break in the sport, your daughter actually inspired you to get back involved. You guys are just adorable. So thank you all so much for joining our hot seat today, and hopefully we'll see you at a competition in the near future. And we're going to take a very quick break. This interview is brought to you by Jackson Ultima, the figure skate company. Utilizing their advanced Apex technologies, including higher stanchions, tapered edges, and titanium coating, Apex Dance and Synchro blades are the choice of champions. Combined with their low-cut design boots that promote maximum flexibility without compromising support, Jackson Ultima provides the perfect match. Now, over to you, ladies. Starting with Gina, do you wear any Jackson products currently?
Absolutely, all my life.
Oh yeah.
All my life.
And what are your favorite things about them?
I think, well, especially nowadays, I'm not talking about way back when you had to break in a boot, but it's just the comfort, it's like a Cinderella slipper. So, I mean, you get into that and you always worried, oh, new skates, and then you get onto the ice and you're like, wow, that wasn't too bad. I think for, any skater, comfort is so important, especially when you're spending 3-4 hours on the ice, just to get your foot into a fitted boot that was made to your size. And to just put your foot in there and just feel like, hey, it's perfect. It's fine. I could do this. I could do whatever I'm meant to do. So yeah, Jackson has really been for me, and their blades as well, all of it.
And how about Alessia and Lizanne?
I've had Jacksons as well. I really like them actually because I used to have a dance model and I was like, I feel like my ankle's a bit too loose in this, for synchro, I thought it was a bit too loose. And then they came out with the one that's like a little bit higher. So it's like a mix between a freestyle skate and a dance skate. And I really, I haven't changed since. So I've gotten the same pair of skates 3 times now. And my blades too, I got Twizzle blades, and it's made such a difference in my skills for me. It's a game changer.
Yes, I have Jackson now. I used to wear GAM for my whole life. And then I used to change my skates every 4 or 5 years because I really hate to change skates. My feet are destroyed every time. And usually, I take a whole summer to adapt. And last year, I had to change my skates. So I changed right after the competition in California. And I skated Winterfest with my new skates. So a month after, and that was life-changing. Yeah, so I really love Jackson now.
Jackson girl for life.
Yeah.
I'm currently on all Jacksons, so I have the freestyle boot and the synchro blades on it.
Ah.
And you have the blades.
Yep.
For me, it was the perfect fit. So the boot was like, I mean, they're the ones that heat mold also, but didn't really need to do anything. I mean, I started with normal beginner blades, but they are just so stable that it was practically uncomfortable. So like doing anything, like even doing a 3, you'd really have to like think of moving your weight forward, which was kind of funny. With the synchro blade, you have the slightly the shape.
rocker.
The rocker is better.
And how did you find it? Like, was it difficult to adjust when you went from having longer, maybe beginner blades to a synchro blade that's shorter and has a bigger rocker on it?
No, I actually found it easier with the synchro blade. Maybe it's the background in hockey skates.
It could be.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it just feels much more natural.
And just a fun question to wrap up from all of the interviewees today. If you had to summarize synchro in one word, what would it be?
Friendship.
For me, it would be united.
I would say memories.
If I had to go with just one word, it might be even love.
I don't know. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful to watch. It's the whole atmosphere. It's an atmosphere. That's what it is. It's a whole atmosphere.
Togetherness.
A lifestyle.
Well, guys, that is everything for this episode of Jackson Ultima's Hot Seat Highlight. Stay tuned for our next episode sharing more unique and fascinating stories from the synchro world.